at number 11 Boston College. Can you make that one make sense to me?
Yeah, so listen, the Duke Blue Devils, they're like a scrappy ACC team. They kind of pick and choose when they want to play. They're missing their best pitcher, Jonathan Santucci, the Tooch monster. Good lefty with high 90 stuff, really good slide piece. So instead, um, they're starting. I forget who they're starting, actually. I just had it, but they're going against Henry Leak of Boston College. Now, if you've been listening to me all season, you've been saying that the best play typically is Chris Flynn of Boston College on a Saturday or a game 2. So I think I'd have a slight lean to Duke, nothing official. So ultimately, I think I'm backing Boston College again tomorrow in a bounce back, but that actually might result in Chris Flynn being a favorite for the first time, I think, all year. So that's going to be an interesting one. So Duke unofficially would be the side for me.
Okay, we'll go with Duke on that one. Now, how about one of the teams that you call potentially the best team in all of college baseball this year? The number 2 ranked Wake Forest Demon Deacons. They're heavily favored at number 10 Louisville. They're plus 120. They're on the run money line, whatever you want to call it. But talk to us a little bit about this one in the Demon Deeks. Are you backing them in this top 10 matchup, or do we want to go with the home team?
No, we got to live and die with Wake Forest. I think Wake Forest is the best team in college baseball. They are better than LSU. There's no team that has a deeper pitching staff front to back. They have a loaded lineup 1 through 5, even without Adam Cecere. It's elite. So the fact is, this is a huge series for the reason that Wake Forest and Louisville are probably the top 2 teams in the ACC, along with Virginia. And if Louisville is going to want to have a shot to win the ACC, they have to beat Wake Forest this weekend. I don't think it happens. I think ultimately Wake Forest, Rhett Lauder Day on the bump ski in Louisville is going to shove with that change piece that is just impossible to hit when he's got it cooking. Ultimately here, Wake Forest is the better team, and I think 150 is a fair price. Louisville does not have an elite offense. They lose 2 guys that combined for almost 50 home runs last year with Dalton Rushing and Cam Masterman. So now you have guys like Jack Payton, Christian Knapczyk. They're okay, but the depth in that lineup is not there. Don't be fooled by this Boston College outing sweep that they had last week. Wake Forest is a different animal, and I expect them to win Friday, probably Saturday. If Louisville's going to take a game, I think it'll be Sunday with Carson Leggett, who's been one of the best Sunday guys in all of college baseball this year.
Speaking of animals, Johnny, we've got the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, probably one of my favorite mascots or names of a team in all the country. They're favored as a number 9 in the country, ranked number 9 this week against Old Dominion and the Monarchs. We got the Chanticleers and the Monarchs, like from a just a mascot standpoint. I love this game.
Yeah, I made a mistake. I accidentally put number 9 in the rankings. Coastal is actually number
That's right,
17, so
17th.
that's
Yes.
my bad. Coastal, I grabbed earlier today at minus 110. They were an underdog at Old Dominion, and myself and Matt Grissom probably talked them off, the books off to the minus 110 dog price. Now they're minus 125. Coastal is legit, dude. This team is good. They are just like Campbell. They have an elite offense. They have pitching questions. I think Campbell's got the edge in pitching because Cade Cooler is a legitimate ace. So ultimately, I have to go with the Chanticleers here. I don't even know what a Chanticleer is. Just from their
It's a rooster.
mascot, it looks like a rooster.
It's a
I was
rooster,
going to
yeah.
say that. I don't know why it's called a Chanticleer, but anyway, I think this is a tough matchup because Old Dominion is a team that can bop. They can hit. So with Matthew Podak, a resident of Jackson, New Jersey, on the mound, I'm going with Coastal here because I think they do have the slight edge in the pitching department. They have a really good closer by the name of Teddy Sharkey with mid to high 90s fastball. The kid is nails. The kid lives for those tight situations. I wish there was a total in this game because if there was, this would be a situation where I would go on a Friday night over, which I rarely do. I think this could combine for about 14 or 15 runs this evening. Coastal should pull out a tight one. And just so you know, I backed Coastal the other day at 200-1 to win it all. I don't think they win the College World Series, but like I was telling our guy Jared off air, If Coastal can make it to the super regionals, if they get a good draw and they win enough games, there's going to be a lot of opportunity to create equity out of that ticket. 50 would win you 200 or $10,000
Wow.
if they were to win the College World Series. So you're playing with a lot of different ways to create more money.
That's
Eh,
always that's always big time. And Jared in the chat here giving us the definition of what a chanticleer is from Coastal's website. A proud and fierce
mm,
rooster is the unique moniker slash mascot for Coastal Carolina University's mascot and athletics teams. The chanticleer is derived from the crafty, quick thinking rooster in Joffrey's Schuster's
Jeffrey
Canterbury
Chaucer's Canterbury
Chaucer's
Tales.
Canterbury Tales. Yeah. Huh,
Well, thank you
interesting.
very much, Jared. We
Appreciate that.
learned something today.
You know, there's
Nice.
another old school movie. I don't exactly know how old you are there, Johnny, but, you seem to be probably, right around my age, maybe a little younger, but there was a movie that came out in 1991, and when I was growing up, I used to watch it a bunch, and that's what I learned what a chanticleer was. It was called Rock-a-Doodle. Have you ever heard of that?
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
It's a classic. It's a
Wait,
good movie.
can we talk about our ages? How old are you?
33.
Are you? I didn't think
Yeah.
you're. No, I thought you're a little younger than me. Yeah, I'm a little younger than you. I'm
Okay.
29.
There we go. Okay, so not too
Nah,
far.
people don't believe it though. People think I'm like 20. It's crazy.
No, I wouldn't have said 20. I would have been like 25, 26, 27, maybe. But,
Yeah,
we
believe
both
me,
look
dude. I
younger than
wish I
we
was
are.
20. I wish I was 23. That'd be cool. That'd
Yeah,
be great.
it would be awesome. I miss the days of the young to mid-20s for sure. All right, let's keep rolling here in terms of, college baseball. But before we do, you mentioned you put some money on the Chanticleers to win it all. What
Yeah.
is your strategy as a betting expert when it comes to putting money on teams to win it all? Like, do you sprinkle? Do you just do one or two? Like, what's your strategy there?
So for me this year, it was a little bit different than last year. So what I've done this year, and I've actually invested a good amount in futures.
Yeah,
I
you got
think
on me. The one time we did the better zone, you were like, "Why the f are you betting futures? Like that's the dumbest bet." Yada yada yada. It's a long play. It doesn't. It takes a long time to pay off if you get it. I remember you getting on me about the futures bets.
no, I was probably the
Yeah,
opposite. It was probably
I don't know
probably
why.
misunderstood me. I'm a huge futures guy.
I
I
don't.
surprised
I
said, "Why
thought you
aren't
got
you
on me
playing
about that.
futures?" No, it might have been something different, not with college baseball.
Okay.
So,
No, no, no. It
uh,
definitely wasn't college baseball. It was like an NFL team. I did like an over under win total, and you were like, "Man, it takes so
oh,
long to."
that's way different. Win totals, I said I don't like doing win totals
Mhm.
because you're not going to get a big payout. It's going to be a lot of times like minus 115, minus 120. You're going to tie up your money for the entire year. Most people are only going to put maybe $200 on. I'm not tying up $200 to win $200 in 8 months. Like it doesn't do it for me.
Gotcha.
I'm taking a swing. So obviously Campbell, I have the most stake on, and therefore the most payout. But Wake Forest is probably my second biggest stake. Those two teams I'm huge fans of. So now with Coastal, the reason I took them, and I've taken a couple teams that I've said I don't think are going to win it all, but that's not what it's about. For me, it's always about the draw. A team like Coastal should make the College World Series. So the best case scenario is they are like the number 13 ranked team, number 14 ranked team at the end of the season. And, if they're hosting a regional, they're going to play maybe like I don't know, maybe they play a Vanderbilt, right? Let's say a team that I think they might have a shot to beat. So you want them to get far along enough to where now you're sitting with all this potential equity that you start hedging or you betting against them and create a ticket, because I still believe in the College World Series playoffs, like the tournament, you can bet series prices. It's not like the regular season. So there should be opportunities to create some. Worst case scenario, if you don't, you lose $50. Like in a case like Coastal Carolina, $50 to win 10,000. Chances are, like I said, they're not going to win, but there's different ways to create more money. So even if I only won like $1,500, I turned 50 into 1,500. Like who wouldn't want to do that? So that's the case with a few of the teams. I truly believe only about 8 teams have a legitimate chance to win it all. Most of them are sitting at the top of the board right now. The team that is the long shot that I believe is the best to win it all is Campbell, if their pitching catches up to their hitting. So I'm attacking futures market in that way. Right now, a lot of the value's gone. I still think Wake Forest 10-1 is value. South Carolina 18-1 is value. Tennessee, I'm not sold on yet. Florida, maybe a little bit. I have questions about their bullpen. Um, Campbell's down to 60-1 now, probably because I just hit the living daylights out of them for like the last 2 months. And then I suppose, you know, in a similar fashion, a team that if you want to do the same approach that I did with Coastal, Stanford at 25-1. Stanford has some firepower, and they're a team that probably will, at the bare minimum, make the supers. But if they make the College World Series, which they probably will, because they still are a great team, even though I'm not super high on them, same kind of thing. You bet against them, 25-1. So if you put $200 on them and you have 5,000 equity and they make the College World Series, boom, you start hedging against them, and you make a little bit of money. And I'm thinking about doing that myself.
There we go. Again, we're here on college baseball done better. And, I just sort of mentioned football and we're talking a lot of betting. So I got to tell you a little bit about Fantasy Alarm. They have all the fantasy football and betting content you need to prepare for the NFL draft and the upcoming season. I know we're kind of getting to the NFL draft season here. So it's kind of the perfect time to talk a little football, featuring Britt Flynn's mock draft, rookie scouting reports, NFL team needs, player projections, Discord chat, and more. For a limited time, get the complete NFL package plus DFS playbooks for all sports at an additional 20% off the already, Johnny, discounted annual price
Mm.
with promo code NFL Draft at fantasyalarm.com. That's promo code NFL Draft at fantasyalarm.com. All right, let's roll on here with college baseball. And with that, Johnny, let's go to the Georgia Bulldogs. Let's visit the SEC. They are the underdogs in this one, no pun intended, at number 3, Florida, after the Gators they didn't wipe out Tennessee because Tennessee was able to get that last game, and it was just a walk fest there for Florida. They just could not find the strike zone, but they're favored here on a Friday night against the Georgia Bulldogs. Talk to me about this one.
Yeah, so I think ultimately Florida will win. I gave this number out at -190, which is kind of on the borderline of where I would give out a team typically of that magnitude. The Gators are the number 3 team in the country for a reason. They can hit. They have a really good starting rotation when they're on. Brandon Sproat, he had a horrible start against Auburn. He walked the whole ballpark, but he bounced back against Tennessee. And, Georgia's not a great team. They have a couple studs in the lineup, like Charlie Condon. The guy's batting over 450. He's got double-digit home runs. This kid, he bops, dude. He's really good. But outside of that, outside of a couple guys there, Georgia's not that good. I do like their Friday starter, Jaden Woods, lefty, solid fastball, low to mid-90s. He's got a really good curveball. He knows how to mix his pitches. He threw really well against Kentucky last week. So Jaden Woods hanging with Florida for the first few innings. Even him going 6 innings, giving up 2 runs, striking out 7 tonight would not surprise me against this good of a lineup. But ultimately, I have to go with Florida here. Now getting out to the -210, I probably wouldn't bet them straight up. I'd probably put them in a parlay. I think Florida should probably sweep this series because, I don't know if they're going to get too many easier SEC matchups throughout the year than Georgia. Like, these are the ones you got to keep racking up the wins. You got to sweep a team like this just to continue to strengthen your case for the number 2 seed.
Yeah, they got to keep working out their way up there. They're obviously competing with number 1 LSU, and then obviously the Demon Deacons there. I know you love them, of Wake Forest. Let's stick in the SEC. Let's go to the Gamecocks of South Carolina. You just talked about them not too long ago. They're ranked 6th in the nation. They're actually underdogs at number 4 with the Vanderbilt Commodores. What do you like about this one? Are we finally going to take an underdog here, or are you riding with the Commodores at home?
No, I'm going with South Carolina. I can't tell you what happens in the series, but apparently what's going on for Vanderbilt's pitching, which has been that's been their mainstay of why they've been so good this year. So Carter Holt in their ace, their Friday guy who's been awesome, got late scratched last week with stiffness or tightness in his oblique, I want to say. So Bryce Cunningham started in his stead. He threw okay against Mizzou. And then Hunter Owen, their Saturday guy, I'm not sure what happened, but both of them are on the shelf this weekend. They're not starting. So it's Bryce Cunningham on Friday, TBD tomorrow for Vanderbilt, and then Devin Fattrell should be in on their Sunday guy. That's their typical Sunday guy. So for South Carolina, who played great against LSU, they just kind of collapsed last weekend in that Saturday start where they should have had a 2-game sweep, and game 3 got canceled. So the Gamecocks are legit, dude. They are the rake cocks for a reason. This team can mash, but more importantly, they can pitch. Will Sanders is their ace. He hasn't pitched like an ace this year. He's been bad, but when he was called upon last week to go toe-to-toe with Paul Skeens, he outpitched Skeens. He delivered. Now, unfortunately, a rain delay only let him go like 3 or 4 innings, but I think he should build on that performance because Vanderbilt, in my opinion, it's better than I expected, but their offense has been a little bit overperforming from guys that, we don't really expect to, like Davis Diaz, Jonathan Vastine. Parker Nolan had one big game where he had 11 RBIs, RJ Schreck. So I think ultimately the offense is way better in favor of South Carolina. And I think with Bryce Cunningham going again, who really is a reliever, the pitching should be in favor of South Carolina as well. So you're getting them as an underdog. I think South Carolina has a really good chance to take the series. And if they do, we will see them inside the top 5 next week in the rankings. This team is legit. They are an absolute juggernaut.
It seems like this is the time for South Carolina to really put their stamp on this season and to the basically put the college baseball world on notice of like, hey, we're going to go to Vanderbilt. We're going to at least take 2 out of 3, if not sweep, and announce to the rest of the college baseball world, hey, we're not going anywhere. We are a legit contender this year in the college baseball world.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. South Carolina was a team that I was talking about. After the first weekend, they were at 100-1 on DraftKings. And by that point, I was like, you know what? I already had a few tickets in, and I didn't want to start adding more tickets that early. South Carolina was not good last year, and I wanted to see them a little bit more before I committed to them. And they moved pretty quickly. So within a week or two after that, when I sent the tweet, they had moved to 75-1. I was like, well, you know what? Maybe they struggle and they move back down. Nope, they go to 50-1. And they go to 25-1. Now, for some reason, DraftKings, I was seeing a 50-1 on my book about 3 weeks ago when everybody else, I think, was seeing 25. Hammered the 50, and then I hammered them last week at 25-1 while the game with LSU was going on when they beat them to open up the series against Paul Skeens. So I think South Carolina has as good of a chance as anybody else because if their pitching is up to par the way it can be, their offense is an absolute force to be reckoned with. They have possibly the freshman of the year in Ethan Petrie. They have a stud freshman or sophomore in Gavin Casas, younger brother of Red Sox prospect Tristan Casas. Like, this team 1 through 9 can hit. They're dangerous. They're going to be a tough out for anybody that has to face them down the stretch.
Yeah, this will be a fun one this weekend. Number 6 versus number 4. Let's stick in the state of Tennessee here where I currently reside. And let's talk a little bit about my Tennessee Volunteers. They continue to fall in the rankings. And this is kind of a weird week. And I'm really interested to get your take on this because I've been talking about this on my radio show the last couple of weeks. And while Chase Burns has really struggled and Chase Dolander hasn't really been what we expected he'd be, after his season last year where he was the SEC Pitcher of the Year, they've made some changes as Tony Vitello, and it's not going to be Chase Dolander on Friday night. It's going to be Andrew Lindsey, a junior reliever who hasn't really have much, time starting at all. It's surprising they didn't go to Camden Sewell or maybe Seth Halverson, but they're going with Andrew Lindsey. What do you think about this one between Tennessee at plus 105 at Arkansas? And, they're going up against a tall task in Hunter Holland in this one, who's been really good this year.
This tells me 3 things. Number 1, Tony Vitello is fed up. Number 2, Tony Vitello understands the urgency, and it's almost an act out of desperation. And number 3, I think it's just an absolute Arkansas play here tonight because the fact is, for the first time in a long time, we're not getting Dolly on the mound on a Friday night. in my opinion, the numbers won't support it. The last 3 weeks since after that Mizzou start, Dolly's been solid. His numbers won't reflect it. He hasn't gotten help on the defensive end. He has walked a little bit too much. He hasn't located his fastball. He's missing spots. But you know what? Tony V understands at this point how far Tennessee has fallen. They've lost to Florida. They lost to LSU. They lost to Mizzou. They need a series win because if they lose again this series, they might be out of the top 25 next week. They're in danger of not even hosting a regional. This was a team that was arguably the best team ever assembled in college baseball history last year. So Tony V has to shake things up, and I don't blame him. I'm not surprised, but it's like a wow factor when you actually see it. So Andrew Lindsay has been a solid reliever. So I probably would expect Lindsay to just go as long as he can. I would say he's going to go 3, maybe 4 innings if he can compete with Hunter Holland. And we're probably going to see Beam tomorrow and maybe Dolly on Sunday. I'd most likely say that Burns is going to be a bullpen role right now because he's got to figure some things out. And because Hunter Holland has been throwing really well, he had a good start against Ole Miss. I like Arkansas. I took them at minus 130. I just have to see it from Tennessee first. Their offense has not been great outside of a few Sunday games. So to me, the Razorbacks at minus 130, and they've obviously moved at minus 145. I still think that's a solid number. I would back the Razorbacks tonight. And I can't give a series preview breakdown. I just have to go one game at a time until we know who's pitching. So to me, it is Hunter Holland because he is a really good pitcher. And we'll see how well Tennessee does against these lefties.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see this matchup and see how they respond to Tony V shaking some things up. Maybe you see Seth Halverson come in out of relief. You mentioned I only expect Lindsey to go a couple innings as well, or Camden Sewell, or even Chase Burns out of the bullpen. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle it, and we don't even know yet who's going Saturday or Sunday. But did want to tell you guys this: attention, better fans, you can have the Better Sports Network newsletter emailed to you every single day. I know I would love that. I can do it as well. But the only place to get our daily Better Bet, plus exclusive offers, program alerts, special events, and our top moments, register for free right now at bettersports.com. And keep up with us on social media, of course, up on Twitter at Better Network. That's BETTOR Better Network. Download the app as well, and always follow what we're doing on YouTube with our live streams here and this recorded podcast like we have on College Baseball Done Better. All right, let's stick in the SEC and let's continue to talk some games here. We only got a couple left, Johnny. Let's go to number 12, Kentucky with the Wildcats. They are the underdogs in this one at number 1 LSU at Alex Box Stadium tonight. Talk to us about this matchup.
Kentucky held Dylan Cruz hitless last night. They touched Paul Skeens for 5 runs, 4 earned. They out-hit LSU 9-8 last night, and they still got run ruled. This LSU team is just unbelievable offensively. They are so good. Kentucky's played a lot of the bottom of the barrel teams. It's weird because their schedule has been on the easier side, to be honest. But their RPI is the strongest in the whole nation. And that's because they played and beat Mizzou and Alabama when they were top 25 teams. But to be honest, they're not really top 25 teams. That's an illusion thing that if you haven't followed it, you would think Kentucky's awesome. They've beaten all these sick teams. This is their first big test. And, Kentucky, in my opinion, can take one game. I think it would probably be tomorrow with Christian Little going. Christian Little hasn't been that great. He's a Vandy transfer who I'm very high on, but he hasn't lived up to the billing. Ty Floyd's been a little shaky in this Saturday role the last couple of weeks. He's gotten beat up by South Carolina. He got beat up by Tennessee. I think LSU should win today, definitely. I give them probably a 93% chance to win. Would not lay it with the 220. I think they're good in a parlay, though. Maybe put LSU and Florida together. Maybe throw somebody else in. Wake Forest, possibly. Now, not to get off topic here, but I just found out Wake Forest is not throwing Rhett Lauder today. They're changing it up. They're throwing Sean Sullivan, their breakout star, tonight against Ryan Hawks.
So does that change anything for you?
So you know what it is? This is one of the few times that might not change anything for me. I'm sticking with Wake
Okay.
Forest. I mean, I'm a little when I think something's happening because Rhett Lauder is the ace. He's the day one guy. They always throw him on Friday night, unless like there's an injury or a doubleheader or whatever the case is. So I'm a little thrown off balance, but I think ultimately Sean Sullivan, he has been so good that to me it doesn't matter. Um, I don't really see a difference the way he's throwing. The guy's got a 170 RA. He's been shutting teams down. He does it a little bit differently than Louder does, but the result is still the same. So I think Wake Forest is still a fair play. I ride and die with Wake Forest, so I'm going to ride with them.
That's funny. I literally was just writing some notes here as you're talking about different teams that you love and maybe some underdogs, and I literally wrote down ride or die with Wake.
Ride or die,
It's so funny,
ride or
dude.
die with Wake.
All right, our last one that I want to talk about here is number 8 Stanford, the Cardinals at the Oregon Ducks, the home team. A little bit of plus money there at plus 100. Talk to me about this one.
Yeah, I think, I talk a lot about Stanford. I don't like Pac-12 baseball. I'm not a big fan of Stanford because they should be so much better than they are. They're going to have a couple first rounders this year. They're going to have a couple first rounders next year. This
They're
team,
getting a kid from this area coming to he just committed to them a couple of months ago.
yeah, like they get pretty good prospects. It just they find a way to just not deliver. But the fact is, Quinn Matthews is one of my favorite pitchers to back. He is so good. He's a lefty, 6'5". He knows how to paint. And I think ultimately this kid is the reason why I like to back Stanford. And getting them at minus 130 is a bargain. And I think Oregon, who's they played well recently, but their claim to fame, like, was sweeping Arizona, who suck. They're not good. The pitching matchup is going to be one to watch, though, because Matthews is going for Stanford, but Oregon has got Jay Stofall, who's been awesome his last 3 starts. 3 straight quality starts. I think he's only let up like 4 earned runs in the last 20 plus innings. But he hasn't faced a lineup of this caliber. And Stanford, to me, gets the benefit of the doubt, especially with a guy like Matthews pitching. I wish totals were out. This is the third week we haven't seen totals or run lines out because I think this is an under. This is probably a 3-2 kind of game. I would play this under. If it was 8.5, I would still play it to the under. But ultimately, Stanford, to me, is the correct side here. They're a better offense. They have a better pitcher going, and they have a couple arms in the bullpen that I would trust a little bit more than the Ducks.
All right, man. Well, that's all the games we wanted to talk about here today. But I did want to ask you this before we get out of here. Last week there was a lot of underdog teams that you liked. This week, more heavily on the favor side. Can you build us a parlay or two here, or let us know a game that you'd love to bet straight?
With underdogs?
I
Or
don't know, whatever you want, whatever you're feeling. I wrote down, like I heard you say Florida, LSU, maybe throw Wake in there as like a favorites parlay or something like that.
yeah.
Would you feel comfortable doing like South Carolina and Stanford in a parlay?
Stanford, okay in that parlay. I actually think I have that parlay out there, but if you want to do something a little bit more fun, with a little bit more juice to it, I think
Little
South Carolina
pizzazz.
can roll. We can throw we could throw Bama in there. They've kind of ballooned out to minus 165. I don't love Bama today. I like them. They should win, but Bama could go in there. I think we could throw Arkansas in there. And who else? Maybe we put in East Carolina.
Ooh, a little ECU with the Pirates.
Yeah, Trey Savage. He's been awesome, dude. I really love what I'm seeing from Trey Savage. I think that parlay would pay out. Where is it? That parlay would pay out.
Do some quick math.
Where was it? It was Arkansas, right? The last one.
Arkansas, Bama, South Carolina, and ECU.
Yeah, that would pay out 656.
It's not bad.
Yeah, like a team like Coastal, maybe. Coastal's in one of my parlays today, but I'll be honest with you, because there's so limited betting options in college baseball. Most people don't. Most bettors, most sharps won't really tell you to bet parlays. Very rarely, in my opinion, I think college baseball parlays can be EV. Not every parlay is, but there are times where parlays are EV. Most of the time on a Friday night when you have Paul Skeens, Rhett Lauder, Brandon Sproat, Florida, LSU, Wake, even a three-teamer that's only maybe going to pay out like plus 270, that to me is plus EV because you have three of the best pitchers in the country. Typically when like Tennessee is playing like Tennessee, Chase Dollander on a Friday night, like you back those pitchers that are superb to the other competition. To me, those are plus EV. So, you know, let's hope we can cash them in tonight.
Let's hope we can. Johnny VTV, follow him up on Twitter at _ Johnny VTV. For me, it's at Greg Larnerd. Nice and easy. Have a great weekend, man. Enjoy the college baseball this weekend. Enjoy whatever you got going on. I'm back on the ball field coaching my 11-year-olds this weekend, so I'm excited about that. And hopefully we can win some baseball games. But enjoy it. Always fun here. For Johnny VTV, for Jared Moore behind the scenes, doing his thing, always doing us a good service there behind the scenes. I'm Greg Larnerd. Have a great weekend. This has been College Baseball Done Better on the Better Sports Network.